All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the CTE State Advisory Committee. So pleased to see that so many of you could join us today. I am Harmony Little, the chair of the advisory committee, and I work at the Kentucky Community Technical College System as the executive director of credentialing strategies. And as such, I have the pleasure of working with many of the fine folks representing KDE here today. I see that we have a lot of people here, but not everybody may know who each other are. So I am going to just go down the membership list that I have been given. And if you are here, I would love for you to, confirm that I got your name right. And if you will let us know who you work for and what your title is. And if you want to let us know something that you look forward to with summer. I am happy that the pool is open, so I will be more than happy to kick that off for us all. But first on my list, I'm just going to go on the list. I'm not looking at participants because I don't want to potentially miss anybody. So I'm just going to go by the membership that we have. So first I have Representative Steve Riley. Okay. Senator Higdon. How about Mary Pat Regan? Matthew Whitaker?
I'm here.
Yay. And if you can tell us where you're at, who you work for and your title and what you like about summer, or something you're looking forward to about summer.
Okay, I'm at Rockcastle County High School. I'm one of the agriculture teachers. And I am looking forward to going to the state FFA convention in person next week. So really excited about that.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Jeff Jones.
I'm right here. I'm from Webster County Area Technology Center. I'm the CAD instructor. I'm also the Skills USA State Officer Advisor. So I'm looking forward to nationals for Skills USA coming up June 17th. And I've already been at the pool, so I'm with you there.
Awesome. Good luck at state nationals. That sounds wonderful. Mike Stone.
Yes, thank you. Executive Director, Kentucky Association for Career and Technical Education. And I'm looking forward to the end of the summer program because the following week we're going to spend a week on Amelia Island, Florida.
Both. So you have 2 awesome weeks to look forward to. That's great, Mike. Darlene Zybart.
Hello, I'm Darlene Zybart. I'm the CEO for the Kentucky Society of CPAs, and I'm just looking forward to getting out and spending time with people and actually being with people live again, whether that's our own events or just personal get-togethers and seeing family and friends.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? 2 years of not doing that. Yeah. Wonderful. I think Jeff Harper might be sitting in for Drew Graham, if I got that right.
That is correct. Good afternoon, everybody. Jeff Harper, Director of Public Affairs for the Kentucky Farm Bureau. And I'm looking forward to the pool, yes, golfing, even as bad as I am at golf, and grilling some of those Kentucky Proud agricultural products on my back deck.
That sounds like a trifecta to me. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Shelley Goodwin. Steve Johnson. Stephanie Kingsley.
Yes, good afternoon. Stephanie Evans Kingsley with the KWIB, and I am very much forward looking to spending as much time on the lake this summer as is humanly possible. I am also on the road today, home from a long weekend in Wisconsin, so please bear with my terrible service.
Okay, thank you. Well, we did hear that you look forward to being on the lake, so that is wonderful. I hope you get quality time out there. Paul Mullins. Mike Miller.
Good afternoon, Harmony. Mike Miller. I'm the principal at Mayfield Graves ATC. I'm looking forward to some great time at home this summer and summer conference. And then hopefully we're preparing for a normal start to school in August. So all great things.
Yes, yes, that sounds wonderful too. Let's see. John Sanders.
Here.
I think you're on mute.
All right, there we go. Sorry about that.
Yep, that's okay.
John Sanders, principal, Franklin County Career Tech Center, and this summer I'm actually I played 9 holes this morning, and look forward to more time on the lake. Was there at Lake Cumberland last weekend, and that's my happy place. So ready to go again next weekend.
Wonderful. Yeah, the weather's finally nice and I can do all those activities. KDE friends, I have students listed here, but I don't know their names. So if I am just going to do an open call for student representatives. Do we have any today?
No students with us today.
Okay. Well, then I do not want to let KDE be left out of this. I know you're not official members, but there are several of you on the call. So I am going to ask David Horseman to introduce him first, and then if you all can hand off to the rest of the team one by one to introduce yourselves so we know who else is here. And then I'll do a sweep up of who might have joined us since I did the call. So Mr. Horseman?
Yes, I'm adjusting the volume to try to help the feedback. Did that help some?
Yes.
Okay, good. Our speaker was up very loud. I'm David Horseman, Associate Commissioner for Career and Technical Education for another 30 days. And at that time, I'll be leaving. But I'm happy to be here. And I was also on Lake Cumberland this weekend, John. So I hope to see all you lake people down there this summer. And Steve Johnson, I saw, came in while we were announcing folks.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Steve, if you wanted to, we asked everybody to introduce themselves and also share with them what they like about summer, what you're looking forward to about summer.
Well, that certainly explains why everybody's talking about playing golf and being on the lake. I'm like, okay, well, sounds like this is a session about what we're going to do in retirement. Actually, thank you so much, Steve Johnson, Owensboro Health and Owensboro Health Regional Hospital. I actually spent the weekend Shawnee National Forest kayaking and bike riding, which is only about 2 hours from here. So go on past the Barkley Lake. And so, yeah, that was it was a wonderful weekend. Wonderful weekend. Thank you for asking. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. Glad you could join us. So Leslie, I will hand it off to you. And then if you can tag another KDE person and they can tag until we've done all the KD staff.
Sure. Well, good afternoon. Great to be with you. I'm Leslie Slaughter. I'm the policy advisor for our Office of Career and Technical Education here at KDE. And I echo a lot of what I've already heard. I'm really excited about summer conference and feeling some normalcy with professional learning and conferences again. But I just got my garden planted this weekend. So I think I'm most looking forward to the fruits of that labor and all the canning that will come after. So, and I'll tag Tom Thompson.
I'm Tom Thompson, the Division Director for Student Transition and Career Readiness. I guess I'd like a little time by the pool and enjoying a little time with my family.
And I'm Beth Hargis. I'm Division Director for Technical Schools and Continuous Improvement, and I'm really looking forward to some pool days as well and some warm. I'm ready for some hot weather. And so, Scott, I'll send it to you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Scott Uselis. I'm the data manager here in the Office of Career and Technical Education. And yeah, to echo what everybody said, looking to some outdoor time. Jeff, I'm a big griller myself. So yeah, getting on the grill and doing some travel. I got 2 little ones at home, so doing a little travel with them. And I see Reagan up there, so we'll tag Reagan.
Good afternoon. I'm Reagan Satterwhite. I am the CTE Programs and Pathways Manager in CTE. I am looking forward to all things that come along with summer, but particularly this summer, I'm looking forward to meeting my second child, a little boy that is due the 1st of July.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I will tag Miss Robin.
Good afternoon. I'm Robin Linton, and I am the branch manager for the Student Leadership Development Branch. And I'm looking forward to traveling during the 4th of July holiday. And I will tag Carla Tipton.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carla Tipton. I'm the branch manager for the Continuous Improvement Branch. We work primarily with Perkins and data. And I'm just looking forward to some calmer times this summer, maybe. Hopefully, we'll cross fingers, and just getting out and doing some grilling. And once Leslie gets her garden done, she's sending me salsa. So I'm just going to put it out there. And I don't have my list up, so I'm not sure who else.
Dr. Glass, would you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jason Glass, Commissioner of Education. I'm sorry that I'm not on screen. I'm traveling in the car this afternoon, but I did want to come on and just welcome all of you and say how much we appreciate the input that all our advisories provide, and this one in particular, because I think we've got some exciting opportunities in career technical education coming up. We were thrilled with what the legislature was able to do for CTE funding this past year and construction. So we're going to have some more opportunities. I think that's part of what we want to get your feedback on and thoughts on today is how we might best use those funds. But we're grateful for the infusion of new dollars into career technical education, and look forward to working with you on how we can best use those. Also, I want to take a moment just to express my appreciation to David Horseman in his role as Associate Commissioner. David, as he mentioned earlier, has announced his retirement. He's with us for a few more weeks here, about another month, serving in that role. But David has really been a tremendous positive force for CTE in the state.
Oh, he's been great.
Really going to miss working with him, and look forward to the next chapter. And David, we really appreciate your offering for the next advisory meeting to host it on your houseboat in Lake Cumberland, and for you to buy all of the beer and Kentucky Proud hot dogs that everybody can eat and drink. So we are grateful for that and look forward to seeing you on the houseboat. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Glass. Did anybody join us since I did roll call? Or have I missed anybody? Okay, well, thank you, everybody. It's so wonderful to hear. We don't get to see each other much, so it's always nice to take an opportunity to just get to know each other just a little bit more in addition to what we do here in the advisory committee. Sounds like a lot of us are outdoors people, and hopefully we can run into each other outside of Teams and Zoom meetings. So I think that took care of welcome and introduction. So next, I think we have the approval of minutes. Those were, the last meeting was November 19, and the minutes were sent out in advance. So hopefully you had a chance to review them, and I'm looking for a motion to approve the November 19 minutes.
Motion to approve.
And state your name, please.
John Sanders.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Jeff Jones, second.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I will ask Miss Baxter to take roll call. And I'm sorry, I do think we missed her in the introduction. So if you want to tell us who you are and something you enjoy about summer, and then do roll call.
Okay, I'm Charlene Baxter, and I assist Mr. Horseman, and today I'm going to be your note taker. I'm looking forward to getting the toes in the sand sometime this summer. Okay, so we'll start with the roll call. Representative Steve Riley, Senator Jimmy Higdon, Mary Pat Reagan. Matthew Whitaker.
I vote aye.
Jeff Jones.
Aye.
Mike Stone.
Here.
Darlene Zybart.
Here.
Jeff Harper.
Here.
Colleagues, since this is a vote, I appreciate if you can just say yay or nay. I think that's what's required according to Robert's rules. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shelley Goodwin. Steve Johnson.
Aye.
Is that a yes vote?
It was.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Harmony Little.
Aye.
Stephanie Kingsley.
Aye.
Paul Mullins. Mike Miller.
Aye.
John Sanders.
Yay.
Thank you.
I did not keep track, but it sounded like everybody who voted said aye, so I assumed that the minutes passed. With that, I just want to double check. Next on the agenda, we have greetings from the commissioner. Dr. Glass, did you want to say anything else, or did you get that taken care of during your introductions? He might have had to have popped off.
Yeah, I think he's already left us, so.
Okay, just don't want to make any assumptions. So then I will move on to you, Leslie, with legislative updates, please.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I don't know how I get so lucky to always be the one to kick off the agendas, but legislative stuff is important in my world, but I don't know that it's always the most fun topic to start with. But I'm excited to share with you some of the updates I have today. The commissioner alluded to some of the monumental wins that we had this session, and so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. So if you'll advance to the next slide, Scott, I'll start by talking about House Bill 1, which was the state budget. So I'm not seeing that slide advance there, Scott. Might just be trying to catch up.
Did it not advance?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Anybody else see it advance? Not on my end. Okay.
I'll reshare my screen. Hold on one second.
Okay. So I want to start off as we talk about some of the new funding we received in the state budget. I want to thank Senator Higdon. I believe you're with us today, Senator Higdon, aren't you? He said he wasn't with us when we did roll call. Okay. I knew Representative Riley is not with us either, but want to thank them. They were two really instrumental folks in helping us over the years think through funding and really advocate for the need. Also want to thank Representatives Rowland and Massey, for their advocacy. And I also want to thank Mike Stone and CTE, who I believe is in the room with David and some of our team members today at KDE. They, alongside us, were really instrumental and helpful in talking through the need for adequate funding and then helping us to begin the conversations about how we might begin to think differently about how we distribute those dollars, which we'll talk a little bit later about. So again, we're going to start, thank you, Scott, with House Bill 1, the state budget. So the local area vocational education center funding, or what we call LAVEC funding, is the pot of money that has historically existed for our locally operated CTE centers. That was historically for many, many years about a $12 million pot of money. And this year we saw that grow to a $70 million pot of money. And what that means is that with that funding, we will not only be able to fund all of our locally operated centers. Many of those, were on a wait list for funding for many years and have been waiting very patiently for that support. Yes, all the claps, I see them coming in the chat. So, but in addition to that, we are actually going to reach our long-term vision and goal of being able to fund all local CTE programs. So what that means is even if there are comprehensive high schools that have career and technical education programs, even if they don't meet that statutory definition of being a center, Chapter, they will receive funding pursuant to the budget bill language for the first time ever. So that is an incredible win as well, and certainly a step forward in some of the equity conversations that we've had about ensuring that every CTE student is recognized in our funding formula. I see Senator Higdon says he is here. So thank you, Senator Higdon, for letting us know you're here, and we will let you chime in anytime on this, but I want to publicly say thank you for your support over the years of CTE. So that money, again, will be distributed for the first time to many schools that have never received funding. I want to give a shout out to Scott Uselis on our team. He has a small but mighty team of folks in our office that is helping him prepare for these allocations. We are going from about 43 schools that were receiving money in that pot to over 200. So there is a lot of data scrubbing that is happening right now, and a lot of validation of data that is occurring so that we can prepare those tentative allocations for those schools. We're required to notify them by June 30th of what their tentative allocation for the upcoming school year will be. And so there's a lot of work happening right now to prepare for that, and it is not an easy lift. So I want to publicly thank them for all the work they're doing there. In addition to the LAVEC wins, we also saw that all of the requests that we had for our agency budget for the area technology centers were also honored. So we saw additional operating funds that we had requested that were placed into the state budget. And we also saw for the first time in a while additional funding for step and rank increases for those Kentucky Tech ATC employees. So pursuant to our Kentucky Tech salary schedule, there is a step and rank kind of stair steps, salary schedule. And those folks have been making their way through that salary schedule, but we've not been receiving the funding in the budget for some time to be able to honor those step and rank increases. So we actually were able to receive funding for that as well. So we were really, really grateful there. Additionally, the School Facility Construction Commission, or what we refer to as the SFCC, received facility funding again this budget. They did last budget as well. If you recall, we talked about that in the last advisory committee meeting. There is $155 million allocated to 23 districts for locally operated career and technical center facility upgrades. So that is a huge win as well. That does require a 10% local match for those that were named in the budget. We were advocating for hopefully an additional pot of funding that would allow for some new applicants as well. That was not in the budget, so we'll continue over the next few bienniums to advocate for that. We know that there are still a lot of needs out there, particularly on our state-operated ATC side of things, and we're grateful for this facility funding. It will be a game changer in terms of the upgrades that will occur to those buildings and the new equipment that will come, and we're really grateful for that and hope that that might be a continuation in future budgets, and we'll continue to advocate for that. We also have one area technology center building, the Millard ATC, that received $14 million in the state budget for actually a new building completely. So, and I'm sure Dr. Hargis may have some updates on that for you later. Next slide, Scott.
Is it not advancing?
No.
Okay. Hold on. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
The team gremlins are alive and well.
If you all have the same experience as we do, everything works until you need it to work, and then it doesn't.
Oh my gosh, I got a new computer the other day, and you would have thought I had never done a PowerPoint presentation because everything changed.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's you, Scott, today and not me, but I can sympathize and empathize.
Same here.
We appreciate the grace. You know it's coming.
I'm just glad I know where the on-off button is on my computer.
Is it still not sharing, Leslie?
It's just a black screen, just a blank screen.
Okay.
Yeah, but that happened last time before it popped up. It's like it needed to load or something, but.
Okay. On one side.
I just want to say it's rare that we talk about additional funding and helping out schools, and whether it be ATCs or local. So kudos and thanks to everybody involved. It doesn't just happen magically. So thank you all. It's appreciated at the school level by the students, by the teachers, by everybody. So this is exciting. So thank you all.
Yeah, John, it's it's been a priority here for a long, long time, and we're just so excited, like you said, to actually be able to report that it's happening. So I can't wait to see the great things that are going to come from that investment, and we're so glad that you guys are excited about it, because it's really.
Leslie, I went ahead and shared it on a computer here so you could move on.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, no problem. No problem.
Thank you, David. Sorry, guys.
We'll move along. So additionally, in the state budget, there were a few other things I wanted to mention. So our dual credit scholarships that have been in existence for several years, that language, we were trying with Representative Tipton to get some language codified around that this year. That bill didn't get across the finish line, so we saw the language reappear in the budget bill. So it will live there for at least the next 2 years, more than likely, unless something happens ahead of that, and then that language will expire, and hopefully we'll see something codified by then. But it does keep in place the 2 work-ready scholarship opportunities per year of high school for our CTE students. So that's 8 CTE dual credit scholarships, and then there are 2 general education scholarships over the junior and the senior years for a maximum of up to 12 scholarships total over the course of a student's high school career. And I just can't say how grateful we are for this investment as well. It has allowed so many students to have access to dual credit coursework that would not have otherwise been able to pursue that opportunity. It is accelerating students into their career paths, and KCTCS, as well as many of our 4-years, are great partners in that work. And I'm just really, really grateful to see this continue. So 12 total dual credit scholarships over the course of a high school career for students. We also were really grateful to see a pay raise for our state employees in the first year of the biennium of 8%. So that will be coming as of July 1 to our employees. Grateful for that again. We know that there will be another increment in 23-24, the second year of the biennium. We don't know what that increment will be just yet. So the budget bill language does task the personnel cabinet with leading a salary study. And so based on the outcomes of that salary study, they will evaluate what kind of increment state employees will see in the second year of the biennium, and it could even vary by job classification. So we don't really know. That is to be determined, and we'll keep you guys apprised of that information at our next meeting as far as how that salary study is either coming along or what the outcomes have been at that point. Lastly, we wanted to make you aware that the Education and Labor Cabinet was also tasked in the budget bill with conducting what they're calling a workforce development program analysis. And that will be in collaboration with the University of Kentucky's Center for Business and Economic Research. And it's really just intended to study the effectiveness of any state-sponsored workforce development program. So obviously secondary CTE will be a part of that. And we want to follow that and kind of see what shapes up in that report. They will have to report by December 1st of 2023 to the Interim Joint Committee on Economic Development and Workforce Investment. So more information probably to come in the fall as well at our next meeting on that, but wanted to make you aware that that was a piece of work that would start here soon. Senate Bill 59 is an accountability and assessment bill that we wanted to make you aware of. It does make some changes to the K-12 assessment and accountability system. So first and foremost, it actually deletes the 10th grade college admissions exam requirement. So every junior in the state of Kentucky does have a free assessment of the ACT provided as part of the state budget. There was language in the same statute that required a 10th grade administration of that exam. However, there wasn't funding provided to do that. And so the decision was made that that provision would be removed from the statute. So one piece of the bill was intended to delete that 10th grade admissions exam requirement. And then the remainder of the bill actually modified or made some amendments to our post-secondary readiness indicators that are a part of our statewide accountability system. So as a result of that, we do have an administrative regulation with the Kentucky Board of Education. It's 703 KAR 5:270 that will will be amended in the fall to align to these new requirements. There are still some pieces, if you'll go to the next slide, Scott, that are going to have to kind of be further defined and fleshed out as part of those regulatory amendments. So there will be a lot more information at our fall meeting on this. But here's what we know is required. So the bill does say that post-secondary readiness for each high school student shall include one of the following indicators. So we are talking about college readiness benchmark scores on any of the college admissions exams or placement exams that are approved by the Council on Post-Secondary Education. We're talking about achieving 3 hours of college credit or post-secondary articulated credit based on courses that are approved by the state board. Benchmarks on AP, IB, or Cambridge or other nationally recognized exams that are approved by the state board that typically qualify for college credit, at least 3 hours. The fourth one there, completing a required number of hours or achieving a benchmark within an apprenticeship, a co-op, or an internship that is aligned to a credential or an associate's degree and is approved by the state board after input from LSAC, which is our local superintendent's advisory council, or achieving an industry recognized certification, licensure, or credential with more weight given to those that are high demand. So the first and the last bullet are not new to us. We've seen those as a part of the existing accountability system. The others, again, have amendments to them, like the dual credit, for example, previously was 6 hours. We're now saying 3. The benchmarks on AP, IB, and Cambridge could have been interchanged. We required 2 on the gen ed side. Those are now just a standalone 1. And then the piece that we really still are going to have to flesh out is this fourth bullet here around work-based learning. So the Office of Career and Technical Education will be bringing together a committee of folks to start thinking through what that could look like and define some recommendations that we can take to LSAC for feedback and then ultimately to the state board. So any questions on legislative stuff or comments from staff?
Hey Leslie, Mike Miller. Any thoughts on why year 2 of the staff salary increases was not defined in that bill?
Again, I think that salary study is intended to inform where there may be differences in job classifications and things like that. I think they wanted to get a good handle on the roles and responsibilities associated with all those different classifications and try to determine from there if there is a warranted need to possibly shift what that increment could be by classification. That's really the only rationale that I've understood to be present, but I don't know. Senator Higdon, if you're on the call, if you have any insight as to that, you might want to contribute.
And just one more thing, Leslie, unfortunately, some of that, I don't know, like there was some, anyway, the 12% number got thrown out real early on, and now we're trying to reel a lot of that back in. So as soon as we get clarity on that, the better, so I can help communicate to my people.
Mike,
absolutely.
This is David. If I can, the way I heard explained was that we do have some areas that have some certainly really high needs. For example, in the cabinet for health and families, they've got a lot of vacancies there, as well as other offices. So they set this up to take it to that higher level. But as Leslie said, they've charged personnel cabinet to do an assessment of all the job evaluations. And so my understanding is when it happens, it will not be an across the board of any level, that it's going to be targeted to those jobs and in those areas of need and for alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to put that out there as the max. And really, a lot of that came from the news reporting right after it was announced on the floor in a brief, and then it kind of, but that's the intent of why it was done based on what explanations I've heard from the General Assembly.
Agreed.
Very good. Thank you.
Senator Higdon says in the chat he would like to comment. We're trying to see if he's having mic issues. We can't seem to hear him. Senator, are you there? See ya.
He seems to have team gremlins as well.
Must be the day for it. All right, Senator, we can see ya.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we can. Yes.
Let me turn off my camera because I had to stick it up to my ear. Nothing else seems to be working. You know, on the salary study, there's a lot to look at across state government. There's, you know, just a lot of different cabinets, a lot of different work issues. One of the things that we look at, you know, we hear constantly that the state employees are that, you know, the pay is not competitive with the private sector. So one of the things that they'll be looking at is the feasibility of some cabinets to move from 37.5 hours a week to a 40-hour work week, which is a automatic, pretty much a 6% increase on its own. And as we suffer from somewhat of being understaffed, it would be an opportune time to do that. And so again, there's a lot that they want to look at, and I think they're really interested in this salary survey that comes back from Personnel Cabinet. Also, I'd like to comment on the funding for CTE this time, for technical education. I don't think many in the legislature understand this. It's very, very important for the future of our workforce and for our students that technical education be available and well funded. And so, and there's a lot of good things going on there with all the programs, apprenticeships, school to work, all those things that are really, I think, are the future of our workforce. So I think there was a lot of emphasis this time, and the funding, trying to get the funding where it's equal across the board, which is a difficult task because we do have a lot of different models. And but I guess what I wanted to say more than anything is we understand the importance of technical education and want to make sure it's well funded.
And we appreciate it. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Leslie.
Yeah, thank you for the context on the salary study piece. Appreciate that. So before we go to the next slide, I don't know if David's still advancing, but before we do that, I want to ask, as we shift our thinking a little bit as a group to the future of funding, I want go back, David, or whoever's running the. I don't want the cat out of the bag yet. You're giving it away. No. Just the slide where we start to talk future funding. The next one, just the placeholder slide. So I want to ask you guys to think about the phrase high quality career and technical education. And hopefully we all operationalize that in similar ways. But I would like to ask if you could to put the first word that comes to mind in the chat box. So as you hear the phrase high quality career and technical education, what word comes to mind? I'll give you a second to start populating stuff in the chat there. Let's see, updated. Thank you, Jeff. Instruction. Industry alignment. Careers. Yeah. Relevant skill set. Employer driven. All right, give me a couple more. Success, yeah. All right, so when we started to think many years ago about employable. Thank you, Darlene. Yes, I agree with everything that we've seen so far, guys. We're really starting to shift. We've said for about 8 years now that this reform around funding had two pieces. There was an adequacy of funding piece that had to be addressed. We knew that the dollars that were infused weren't enough to meet the needs of all of our programs. And we really needed to probably increase the value even of those full-time equivalent dollars to be able to provide more support to those that were funded currently. And then the other piece that really had to be addressed was how would we equitably distribute the dollars if we got the adequacy piece taken care of, right? So we're really grateful again that we can sit here today and say for the first time in a very long time that we have adequate funding to fund our entire secondary CTE system. So we know that based on the budget bill language, we have to utilize the LAVEC funding formula for the next 2 years to fund those locally operated programs that have never received funding for the first time. But moving forward, we do have a vision that moving into the next biennial budget, we would have a new formula that is codified in statute that funds our entire system in an equitable way. So we're talking about operationally, no matter where the program is, the formula is the same. State operated, locally operated, it doesn't matter. So we're moving in that direction as we start to think and prepare for what this formula could look like. And you guys are really going to help us think through that today. So David, go ahead and advance the slide. And I want to talk a little bit about a framework from our professional association known as ACTE, or the Association for Career and Technical Education. Before COVID, they released this framework. So unfortunately, even though it's been out a couple of years, it's still relatively new in the field because we know COVID just really kind of distracted us from so much. So we've been doing a lot of work internally in the Office of Career and Technical Education to dive into these 12 indicators of high quality career and technical education programs of study. At each of our monthly office wides, Scott Uselis and I have been looking at one or two of these with our staff and digging into those, identifying where we think that there are some best practices going on around those indicators. Where are we seeing success with that particular concept? Where do we think that there's some professional learning that might be needed for our staff or the field, et cetera, all the above. So these are the 12 indicators that we feel like moving forward have got to be focused on, incentivized, and recognized as part of whatever this future formula ends up looking like. So we're talking about standards aligned and integrated curriculum. So I see in the chat box, industry alignment, employer driven. So how do we ensure the standards, the knowledge, the skills, the competencies that are associated with our pathways and our programs of study are aligned to the needs of business, industry, and post-secondary? And then how are we ensuring the interdisciplinary connections? I'm sorry, was there a comment in the room? I thought I heard somebody pipe up, sorry. Sequencing and articulation. How are we building pathways that are as much as possible a seamless transition from secondary into a variety of post-secondary education and training programs? So we talk a lot about career lattice models and how we have all these on and off ramps for students. So maybe it's a seamless path into a 2 or 4 year opportunity because of dual credit or articulated credit, or maybe it's a seamless path into a registered apprenticeship because of our track program. But how do we ensure that there are lots of different seamless paths for students to pursue in those pathways? Student assessments. So we're talking obviously about, you know, industry credentials and certifications, as well as our end of program assessments, but, you know, the formative assessments as well. What does competency-based learning and assessment look like in our classrooms? How are we ensuring that they are really mastering the skills we want them to master along the way? Prepared and effective program staff. So not just the induction of our new teachers, but what does the ongoing professional learning look like for our CTE teachers, and how are we personalizing that? Because we know that the diverse needs of our CTE community, they're vast. You know, from program to program and pathway to pathway, the needs of those teachers are very unique. So how are we supporting professional learning and continuous professional growth for our educators? Engaging instruction, that just goes without saying. Access and equity. How are we ensuring that every student population has access to high quality CTE opportunities? And then how are we ensuring that they are performing and being successful in an equitable way? How are we slicing and dicing that data to ensure that every single student learner in our CTE programs are meeting their needs and that they're being successful? Facilities, equipment, technology, and materials. Again, the funding we're going to receive is going to go a long way with that. But how are we ensuring that we're keeping those up to date with the needs of what our workforce looks like? Our kids have to train and be prepared in the environments they're going to see when they move and transition into those careers. Business and community partnerships I saw in the chat box. So those are critical to grow opportunities for our students to learn, to be in the field, to be mentored. Career development, advising, what does that look like for every student to have a mentor, to have an individual learning plan that is fruitful, that really helps them think about their aptitudes, their interests, what those next steps need to look like to prepare for the future career that they really have identified. Our career and technical student organizations, those have a special place in my heart. I'm a product of 2 of them. And so we know that the leadership skills that they learn in those co-curricular experiences are oftentimes what set those students apart from their peers. It's kind of, in my opinion, what ties the bow around the CTE experience. So those are critical aspects of the overall high quality framework. Work-based learning. So again, not just co-ops and paid experiences, but that continuum that can start as early as upper elementary school, where we're talking about shadowing and mentoring and helping them kind of, again, learn who they are and what these environments in industry are really like. And then lastly, how are we using data for program improvement purposes? So how are we slicing and dicing our data in every way possible to know that our programs of study are producing the outcomes that we intend to produce? So these are the 12 indicators we're very much focused on as we think about a future funding model and what we believe it should be acknowledging, recognizing, and incentivizing. So I want to ask you guys, I'm going to throw in the chat really quickly a link to a Google form. Take you no less than 30 seconds. So I want you to click on that Google form and I want you to go in and you're going to see these 12 indicators listed there. And it's going to ask you to put a check mark next to the 3 that you believe are the most critical for us to consider maybe ranking higher than the others. We know they're all important, but I'm asking you to put a check mark next to the 3 that you think are the most critical that we focus on, think through, and really spend a lot of time digging into as we think about this future funding model. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to go in and do that, and then it should start populating some results for me so I can kind of see where it's landing.
Leslie, when I'm looking on it, it's telling me I need permission.
Okay, 1 second.
Same for me. I was just texting.
See, guys, it is not our day for technology, is it?
No.
Let's see.
And John's saying, everybody's saying the same. So it's just a technology day, you all. So give Leslie a moment and she will try to figure it out. Otherwise, maybe we do this as a follow-up, but let's have patience for a minute and see what happens. Yeah, I know in my instance, it happens all the time because my Google profile is not my work email and they get confused. But I don't know if that's what's happening for others.
All right, so it was restricted to KDE users only. I've turned that feature off. So if you can click out of it and go back in, hopefully it will allow you to take the assessment.
Yes. Worked for me. Worked for me.
Okay, good. We're off to a good start then. Sorry. Sorry about the hiccup.
Way to work under pressure, Leslie.
Some days are better than others. All right, I'm already seeing 2 responses, so that's great. This is where we need background music while you guys work.
Not one of my hidden talents, but if anybody feels compelled. they are more than welcome to give us.
Thank you. Everybody's in there. I can see all the results populating, so that's great. I'll give you another maybe 15, 20 seconds, and then maybe towards the end, I can recap some of the results. But
meanwhile, do the Jeopardy song in your head.
So at first glance, we definitely have a front runner, which is business and community partnerships. At least 5 of you have put that as one of your top 3. The next in line is work-based learning. We have 4 of you that have that in your top 3. And then we have a lot of the others that are very kind of neck to neck. So standards aligned and integrated curriculum, student assessment, prepared staff, engaging instruction. Advising is now kind of bumping to the front a little bit. CTSOs. So, okay, this is very, very helpful. So if you haven't finished the survey, feel free over the course of the rest of the agenda to do that, because that is really insightful feedback for us as we start to really think through how we want to prioritize this model moving forward. And we obviously know, there are some things about our current models that we think are important to keep. The current layback formula does take into account a weight for high cost programs. We know not all pathways cost the same amount of money to run and operate. And so we think that's an important, weight that needs to continue. We know that high demand alignment is critical. We think those business and even regional collaborative projects and partnerships is something we want to continue to incentivize. So all of those things are floating, and we want to make sure that we are seeking your feedback on how we continue to shape this up. So more to come in the fall. This is very, very early, and Senator Higdon, that we'll be chatting with you guys about this along the way, and we do have some intention to try to get on an interim joint agenda this summer to hopefully kind of talk through some of our preliminary ideas about where we think this could head. So any comments or questions?
That would be great.
Yeah, we think so too. So we'll be chatting with you.
And I think it's really awesome that you got some feedback and that there is a clear front runner, but also there seems to be maybe a lot of divergent thinking in terms of the remaining ones. So perhaps you want to think about allowing those who are not present today an opportunity to weigh in, so that maybe you can have a more comprehensive picture from the entire advisory council.
Absolutely. I appreciate that feedback, Harmony. So we'll make sure those that were not here today get that link. And again, this is just the beginning of the feedback loop. So it's a great place for us to start, though, and we're appreciative of you hanging with me there for a second on the Google form. I still see Mike and John are saying they don't have permission. If you can go out and go back in, that seemed to help most folks. But if that still doesn't work.
Sorry to interrupt you, Leslie. I think that was when we were all chiming in.
Got it. Okay.
Because they came in, right? If you look, that was 149. And I think that was right after you released it and we were saying it. So they can speak up, but I think from what I looked at, those were old.
Okay. Good deal. Yep. John says mine works now. Thank you guys so much for indulging me on that. And we're going to move on to Dr. Hargis.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you all this afternoon. So I wanted to show you some pictures and give you some updates as far as what's going on in the state-operated area technology centers. First of all, as you know, over the past couple of years, we've had some state centers that have transitioned to local operation. And so this year, effective July 1st, we should have 50 state-operated centers, as Knox County, of course, went to local last July. And this year, Madison County will be transitioning July 1st. So we should end up with 50. Okay. Logan County, we're very excited about this. They're going to be hosting the Kentucky Board of Education meeting on October the 12th, 2022. I know some of you have had the opportunity to visit this school. It is state of the art. Can't say enough about it. So we're really excited to get the board in there so that they can actually see just a stellar facility. It was finished in 2018, and again, just state of the art, and we're going to be have the opportunity to see career and technical education in action. Next, this is exciting too. Well, everything I got, I feel like it's exciting. But Greenup County Area Technology Center has started a school-based enterprise, and it involves every program within the building. So, you know, that's exactly the way this should operate. They have several local business partners that have attended the opening, and their marketing and business programs helped with all of the marketing of the overall enterprise. They are, and you see some pictures there of some turkey calls that they did. But again, they're very excited about that, and that's exactly what we want to see. So this is exciting for them. All right, so our tiny houses every year. This is big. I don't know how many of you have ever had the opportunity to attend the Fire Summit in Pike County. They hold it in the spring, and previously, before COVID, all of the schools that made a tiny house would take it, and you could actually go through them. And then they hold an auction. So this first one, and if you'll see, you know, this is. You see some granite countertops. So, I mean, these are, again, state-of-the-art tiny houses. And so this first one that you see was made, let me get the school right. I'm not sure exactly which one this is. Martin County. I'm sorry, there it is. Yeah, this one is Martin County. So again, granite countertops, you can see the backsplash. So if you're interested in a tiny house, you may want to go next year to the Fire Summit and actually see these in action, hopefully. And if not, you can get with the KBAC, the local co-op over there, and figure out how to participate in the bidding. Okay, next. All right, this one is from Knott County, and you can see, I believe that's the instructor and one of the students in the picture, and again, a picture of the exterior. Okay, next. And I believe this one is from Breathitt County. Again, shows I love the beams in the ceiling, and you know, these students are so creative, and it's such a wonderful opportunity as well for the community to come together. You know, they do get some donations for their building materials on occasion. And it's a wonderful experience for all of those students to be able to create something and then actually see it sold. All right, so other updates. We are so excited about this first one as well because we are partnering with the Office of Special Education and Early Learning and have actually already interviewed for a special ed liaison between our offices. This is something that's been needed for a long, long time. We know that special education students quite often do extremely well in career and technical education, but we want to make sure that we are providing that education the best way that we can, providing all of the accommodations that are necessary and all of the documentation. So this person, once they start, it's going to be a true blessing for all of us just to make sure that we have everything in place. Garrett County. All right, this is new. They are partnering with Garrett County Schools, Bluegrass Career and Technical College, and UK Healthcare, and are implementing a focused nursing track. It's going to have increased dual credit opportunities, increased dual credit financial support, equipment, and technology. And the initiative is also going to provide a healthcare advisor to assist those students in navigating the required courses and test prep, the tutoring and mentoring, financial needs. So really, this is a great opportunity, and this is one of those partnerships that stands out that's going to benefit students. Next on the list, the Perkins non-traditional camps. Many of our schools are participating in this, and so this is an opportunity that we have each year through our Perkins grant to offer some summer sessions for students, and hopefully to get them involved in programs, CTE programs that they wouldn't normally perhaps be interested in. So it's a great opportunity, and Mason County Career Magnet Center, along again with all of the other ATCs, are working on theirs right now. And one thing that's really unique, because sometimes it's hard to get students in for the summer, and they are at capacity and running over. So that's a good problem to Next, the Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund, or ESSER, as it's known to us. We're using those funds currently for summer remediation. During COVID, there was a lack of learning, a loss of learning that took place. And so this is a great way for our students to be able to catch up during the summer. And so that's been ongoing throughout the school year after the day ends. But again, we're very thankful for those funds. And it's going on through the summer, so we're excited about that. Several of our ATCs have hosted career signing nights to celebrate the students that are receiving scholarships, that have actually been hired and will be graduating and going to a full-time position. And Trailblazer Academy, which is located in Harrodsburg, has just hosted their first career night. And so this is pretty exciting that there were over 300 in attendance for this. That included the students, the parents, the educational stakeholders, and they had over 20 business partners. So this was a big deal, especially for that community and CTE in general. All right, the next slide. All right, so our CTSOs have already taken place at the regional state level. And so our students now are preparing for the national competitions. And that's such a great opportunity. As always, the students they can go and compete. They can showcase those skills that they've learned throughout the year. A lot of leadership that goes on there. You can tell students that have been involved in CTSOs and actively participated, they just have a level of leadership and confidence, I think, that others may not have. Post-secondary readiness, of course, student achievement, getting those students the skills that they need. That's why we're here. And we're so excited. Just as an example, all of our schools have done really well, but Fullitt County, ATC, and this was actually before school was out a couple of weeks ago. They were at 92% of all of their active seniors graduating post-secondary ready. And so, that's a testament to the good work that's going on in all of our buildings. And at Warren County, we had 3 seniors that earned all 10 Automotive Service Excellence certifications. And that's all that you can get in the ASE. And so, again, students are doing well across the state. I wish we had the time to talk about all of them. But just so you know, our ATCs are strong, and so are our local centers. But we just wanted to highlight some of the things that we've mentioned today. All right, so this next slide, if you'll go ahead. Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about this, but I just wanted to let you know, effective July 1st, and Leslie mentioned this early on, that all of our state employees will be receiving an 8% salary increase, and that includes everyone. That includes our 156 principals, an administrator, or teachers and administrators, and it includes our 18A administrative specialists and our maintenance workers. So everyone in our state-operated centers, and again, state employees overall, are getting that 8% raise. So we've also had some questions about when the salary schedule will actually be updated, because as you know, there was some money that was set aside for the step and rank changes. It's not going to be until this fall, but that's because we are actually doing the survey across the state to see where we stand. One thing that will be done is we are collecting information from all of the districts, and we'll average that together in order to set the scale, and then it will be adjusted. But once it is adjusted, if there are additional increases that need to take place, they will be retroactive to July 1. So we're very excited about that, and again, want to thank our General Assembly for making that happen.
Thank you, both Leslie and Beth, for those great updates. I know that there's been a lot of hard work from you and everybody else behind those, and it's really great to hear about all of the great stuff, from the additional funding to the races to the great achievements of students, etc. So kudos to everyone around. I think we're moving into the cross-agency initiatives and updates, and if I have it right, I'm handing it over to Leslie for the initial 2 updates.
Yes, ma'am. So if you will advance the slide, David, want to update you guys on where the work is with the new college and career advising platform that I told you guys about at the last meeting. So at that time, we had just gotten the contract signed. We were utilizing some of our ESSER funding, the COVID relief dollars, to build out a very comprehensive statewide college and career advising platform. So next slide, Scott, or David, that will show them kind of what we're after here. So if you recall, this is a partnership between KDE, the Council on Post-Secondary Ed, and KY Stats, our longitudinal data system for the Commonwealth. It is a tool or a platform that will be intended to be used by all learners across the education and training spectrum. So we're talking not just about K-12 learners, but traditional post-secondary, adult ed, military folks who may be wanting to come back into the education and training continuum, anyone who's really looking for any information about college and career advising. This will become the one-stop shop for all of that. So it's intended to bring together a lot of career exploration tools, some of which already exist in Kentucky, others might be developed, reports from KY Stats, like the Students' Right to Know, and other kinds of things like that, labor market information, all of that. The secondary, post-secondary, and adult ed program information. That also includes registered apprenticeships. Anywhere that a person or an individual can go to pursue education and training for a particular job or career will somehow be housed here, hopefully in a very interactive, cool way. Post-secondary affordability resources. So we're talking about all of Kia's know how to go kinds of stuff, all of the My Kia login information, learning about scholarships, aid, everything you would need to know about what it might cost me and what I'm going to be out of pocket to pursue a particular education and training path. And then what I'm most excited about, and I think what will set our tool apart from every other platform in the country, is a virtual component for employer engagement. So not only will they be able to go in and businesses and industries can build profiles about who they are, advertise opportunities, but they will have a way to actually connect with learners in a more meaningful, authentic kind of way, whether that be through virtual mentoring, maybe even some virtual shadowing, or maybe even virtual internships. I'm not going to say that the sky's not the limit here. We have pulled together, since we last met, quite a few focus groups of different audiences of folks, learners from every end of the spectrum, our business and industry partners, our post-secondary friends. We've pulled together lots and lots of folks to inform us of what the requirements of this platform really need to be and what tools and things already exist that we might want to use, integrate, or Kentuckyize if they're not Kentucky's tools currently. And then again, what pieces have to be developed out that just simply don't exist, but we know are a requirement for the platform. So we are wrapping up those requirement sessions right now. We have about 2 weeks left with those focus groups and requirements groups, and then we will be ready to start letting our programmer get to work. So we have hired a project manager that KY Stats is supervising that's leading all of these work groups. And we also have a programmer on board now. That was a little hard to find. I don't know if anybody else has been looking for a programmer these days, but wow, that was really difficult. But we landed a great one. And she's been able to be hired enough time to sit in on a lot of these requirement sessions and really hear the fruitful discussion we've been having with those groups. So I'm thrilled with where the work is. I'm so excited to get this puppy launched. We will also be using a few of the dollars to market the new platform. So we are going to brand it and be developing a brand and title for that, so that when we talk about this in the future and when it does roll out, it will be a thing that has a name that we really try to make common language across all of our partnerships. So more information to come. This will be a standing item, I believe, that I will be updating you on really at each of our meetings for the next year until we roll this out. The funds have to be expended by September of 2023. So we've still got over a year for this work to really get refined and hopefully be ready to roll out at that time. So excited. Many of you have been engaged in some of those work groups, and I can't thank you enough for your commitment to that. I know it's been, those are long days. They're like 4-hour work sessions where we literally chart paper on the walls, and I mean, it's really like tough nitty gritty work, but it's going to be worth it, I think, for the users that will reap the benefits of this platform in the years to come. So stay tuned, because we'll keep updating you as time goes on. But I want to thank CPE and KY Stats as well for their continued partnership in making this a reality. So that's that on that one. And I have the next update as well around statewide articulation agreements, I believe, David. So Senate Bill 101 from the 2020 legislative session required the Council on Post-Secondary Education, in partnership with KDE, to develop statewide articulation agreements. And so that work has been, I mean, it's very labor intensive. When we think about every pathway we have at the secondary level, we have over 100 career pathways that exist in our program of study for secondary CTE. And then we, of course, have public and private partners, 2- and 4-year partners that have, gosh, over, I believe, 120 existing articulation agreements for credit for prior learning or articulated credit in some way for our students that transition from secondary into these post-secondary programs of study. So this work has been going on for about a year with KCTCS. So CPE agreed that was the place to start. That is where the bulk of the articulation agreements currently existed. And it was a priority to ensure that we were all partnering together to get those to a level where we could consider those KCTCS agreements to be system-wide. So Harmony has someone on her team that has been assisting us with that work, and she was involved early on as well. So Ben Williams has been assisting us with ensuring that we are taking the existing agreements with KCTCS and getting those executed system-wide, so that no matter which college of the 16 they may go to that offer that particular certificate, degree, or diploma, that will be a consistent agreement across the system. He has also been really incredibly helpful with helping us meet with those curriculum committees, and our staff have been engaged in some of those meetings to identify opportunities for future articulated credit. So we've been identifying gaps and where we think we have pathways that may lead to other types of credit for prior learning that maybe aren't codified in any kind of agreement currently. So that work is starting to wrap up. We have a memorandum of understanding that is currently going through the signature process between CPE, KCTCS, and KDE. And then we'll consider that phase 1 of the work checked by hopefully June 30th of this year. And then come July 1, the new fiscal year, CPE will shift that focus to the 4-year institutions and begin conversations about how we create more statewide, concise, and consistent agreements across our 4-year institutions. So this has been a really heavy lift. It's been a lot of work, but it's good work and it's good for students. And so we're excited about not only the consistency and continuity that it's going to create, but again, the door has been open to conversations about new and emerging opportunities for articulation that maybe we hadn't thought about before. So I think it's going to create even more opportunities for students. So again, I'll keep you abreast of that as well, but we are so thankful for our partnerships with the Council on Post-Secondary Ed as well as KCTCS for this work. John, I see your hand.
Yes, quick question. When we were looking earlier at the post-secondary, whether that be work-based learning, dual credit, part of it was also this, it mentioned articulated credit. So will that just be if students are taking courses that would articulate, or do they have to actually enroll in that school? What does that look like, or do we know yet?
Great question, John. So John's asking about the changes to the assessment and accountability system that I mentioned earlier. So previously, we were reporting articulated credit for accountability, state accountability, in the form of EOP assessments or end of program assessments, because every one of those end of program assessments is tied to at least 3 credit hours of articulated credit. The way the bill language reads right now is a little gray because it ties it to courses, and we don't actually articulate post-secondary credit based on courses. We articulate based on those EOP assessments or industry certifications or other criteria that the institution has established. Sometimes it's a combination of things. So we have actually requested and have a meeting soon with the bill sponsor, Senator Wilson, to have this discussion. And right now, I can't answer that question, John, because I think the way the bill language reads, it's not feasible for us to report articulated credit in that way. So we're going to talk with the bill sponsor about intent and what is the best path forward to be able to ensure that we're giving a holistic picture of kids who have qualified for that. Because here's the other tricky part of articulated credit in the K-12 space. We really can only say who qualifies, right? We don't know until they leave us who actually goes to that institution and ends up transcripting the credit. So there's really two pieces to this. There's the piece of who is eligible for articulated credit when they leave high school. And then there is who actually takes advantage of that articulated credit. So we feel comfortable being able to share the data about who's eligible. But as far as when it gets transcripted and how, there's some inconsistency right now that we're working on as part of that Senate Bill 101 work around how we could create some norms for transcripting that in a consistent way across institutions. And that's going to take a little bit of work and time to figure out. So all of those things are on the table right now. But John, it would be my gut that we're going to look at EOPs and industry certs that have articulated credit tied to them.
And John, if I could jump in here, when you talk about articulation, that's not our decision. That's the decision of the post-secondary institution. And so there are some industry credentials that have some credit for prior learning that can be translated into articulation. But if we're doing it on a course-by-course basis, then that would be something that we have no control over. So again, we want to check with the bill sponsor and Senate leadership on that to see exactly where they wanted us to go with it. And then we'll use that as our modus operandi, if you will, writing the regulations.
And I think that would, my only fear would be and I think that's good, Leslie, what you said. I had a fear of watering it down to where if a student just took a course that could be articulated, that all of a sudden that, they've met that benchmark, the same as a benchmark of somebody who's worked towards an industry cert or, met it in another way. So that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated on how that conversation goes and what we learn as we move towards the road changes. So I think that was my last update, Harmony, unless anybody has questions for me. Alrighty.
Are there any questions for Leslie? Hearing none, I'll turn it over to Stephanie for an update on the industry certification approval process, please.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the mute button. So yes, the industry certification process has been streamlined from they cold call anybody at KDE or the KWIB into a link on the KWIB's website where all vendors, schools, employers, anyone who is wanting to have a program reviewed by the BEAT teams can put the information into the form link on the KWIB. And it sends it immediately to our team, who then conducts just a real quick initial assessment of the who, what, where. Is there a school that is associated with the program? And basically, we make it idiot-proof so that if they have been referred by a partner, that partner is identified in the initial application. And so we are formalizing the process just to make sure that our team is able to track who is where in the review process so that they're getting initial recommendation letters from the BEAT team that says, yes, we're sending this up to the next KWIB quarterly, or no, you don't meet the program requirements, and really just trying to create a paper trail for every step of this process. I think when we took over the reins of this, it was just very all over the place of how these people came into the system. So we're trying to funnel them all to the same place to get all the same information from the partners and make sure that we are communicating effectively at each stage of the process. So it goes from the website to my team, to the BEAT team, and then back to the KWIB quarterly for final approval once they make it through the gamut. So just really trying to streamline and create points of contact for folks that are clearly labeled and populate to a spreadsheet so that we can track folks every step of the way. It's pretty straightforward. We've been using it for about 6 months and have finally, I think, got all of our local area partners trained about where to go and how to use it. But I am happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Stephanie, thank you for that. That's a great update. And for those of you who didn't see, she posted the link in the chat. Remind me, is the list of the current certification also listed on the website?
Ooh, that I am not sure, but if it is not, we can absolutely put it there.
They're listed on the KDE website under Office of Career and Technical Education Programs.
That's right. Okay. I knew it was listed somewhere. I just couldn't remember where. Thanks, David. Any other questions for Stephanie?
We're also trying to streamline the process to ensure that everybody who makes it to this list also makes it to the WIOA eligible training provider list so that the WIOA funds can be used for these for folks who might need some additional financial support for some of this work. So really trying to take a comprehensive approach to make sure that all of these folks are in all of the places that they need to be to access students and funding.
It's really wonderful. John, do you have a question?
No, my hand may have been raised earlier. No.
Okay.
Let me. Oh, there it goes. I lowered it. Sorry.
No worries. Just, you know, team as we've established, team gremlins are out there, but wanted to see if you had a question. Anyone else have a question?
I might clarify something. One thing that Stephanie mentioned was taking the input to the BEAT team. And I have, there you see the BEAT, that is the Business Education Alignment Team. That's a group of education and business folks that evaluate those and make a recommendation to the subcommittee of the KWIB. So it's not just an education thing, and that's why it lives there in the KWIB. It's a partnership between the two entities, and that translates into the whole process, not just the end product.
And we recently had a discussion at our last subcommittee meeting about the weight of the BEAT team's recommendations, because there was a particular local area that felt very strongly about a proposal that had been denied. And so we're just trying to be very intentional about how we describe this process, that it's simply recommended by our business and education partners, and that the KWIB makes the formal approval, so that if anyone has any concerns, questions, or really just wants more information, that we direct them to us to kind of field those and really not allow such a appeal process formally, but really to get the no denial is final until we say otherwise, and you can always reapply with tweaks to the application. So really just trying to make sure everybody understands the process and who does what within it.
Thank you so much. I think I'm up next with early post-secondary opportunities. So as part of the CPE's Council on Post-Secondary Education's Commonwealth Education Continuum, they've established 3 work groups for this upcoming year. They will at least work through the new year, but I'm not sure if it's, you know, that everybody has the exact end date. It's more they reach their goals. So the 3 work groups is 9th grade on track, first-year success, and early post-secondary opportunities. And I co-chair the latter one, early post-secondary opportunities, with Robin Herbert, and both Leslie and Beth are members of that group. The focus of that work group is access and success for students around early post-secondary opportunities. So the first meeting was earlier this month, and the majority of the meeting was around data that KY Stats shared on outcomes for various early post-secondary opportunities. So some of which have been discussed here today: dual credit, articulation, industry certs, AP and IB, etc. So more to come on this work and that work group, but just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that that is ongoing. There's about, I don't know, just around maybe 20 committee members, and it's a good mix of folks in the community, practitioners, there's parent input. There are 4 years on there. I represent the 2 years. You all are on there. Kia is on there, etc. So look forward to the work that's going to come out of that, and we'll definitely make sure to keep you all updated. While I'm speaking, even though it's not necessarily the early post-secondary opportunities, because this agenda item is cross-agency initiative and updates, I also wanted to make sure that you were aware of a couple of things, one more in general and then some specifics from KCTCS. Thanks to new criteria from CPE, KCTCS in 4 years can now accept students based on GPA. That was a waiver during the pandemic, but it's now a permanent opportunity for students. So CPE, as they always do with assessment and placement, sets the minimum, and then institutions could go on and set, their own criteria above that. So there's a minimum 2.5 GPA requirement for all general education courses, but then for many of them, institutions, because their reading, writing, and math, etc., have a higher benchmark, if you will. Those GPAs are typically higher. KCTCS gets to set their own GPA for technical coursework because that's more unique to us. And we lowered that GPA from what we had in the pandemic to moving forward with this new academic year to a 2.0. So if a student did not, prior was the 16 ACT composite score or some kind of variation thereof, and we can still admit students on the ACT, but now we're sort of moved to this, everybody has moved to this multiple assessment opportunity. So I think that will really go a long way in terms of equity and access and just allowing opportunities for students to explore dual credit, and wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. So that's thanks to CPE. Then on the KCTCS side, just really quickly, we're going to start our new strategic plan July 1. I've seen the draft plan, but it won't be approved by the Board of Regents until next week. But it has 3 broad goals. One is to increase learner success. The other one is to increase employment success. And then the third one is to increase organizational success. So there's a lot of tie-in to much of what's been discussed already here today, from the articulation to streamless transfer opportunities, et cetera. But I think the big update, and it's a longer list. So, well, I was going to try to post it in the chat, and I will, but it's looking wonky because it's I cut and paste it from a bulleted list. Is that KCTCS has approved system-wide career pathways. So, we have over 120 programs across our 16 colleges. Not every college has those 120 programs, but across the system we have them. And we realize that it becomes really wieldy for a student to maybe, to look at an alphabetical list where, typically you have accounting number 1 and last you have welding, right? And what they might be interested in is anywhere in between. So, there's a big movement in the field. You might have heard of meta majors. You might have heard of career pathways, et cetera. This fits into that movement. But what we're trying to do is provide sort of a framework for students to start honing in on, well, which of this are you interested in, right? And typically when done the right way, it would start with sort of some kind of either career interest or aptitude interest or assessment to sort of say, your skills or your interest or a combination of the two lend themselves to this. So they might not know, that they want to be, an EMS worker, but they want to know that they want to do something within helping folks, and maybe we steer them towards that. So where it gets a little bit complicated is that these are the system career pathways. Locally, there might be some nuances and variations on them, and particularly what goes into them, and all of that is to be determined. But I just wanted to share that with you. And I think one of our first priorities is to map the secondary programs of studies to where they might fit into these 7 buckets for us, again, to assist with that seamless alignment and students understanding what the steps are from secondary to post-secondary. So that's my update from KCTCS. Are there any questions on any of that?
Hey, Harmony, Mike Miller. Back to the enrollment criteria, the GPA for the tech courses. You said you were set at 2.0.
Yes.
Are those subject to local schools adjusting those?
No, so we are not allowing schools to make them any different than what the state ones are, but do note that if a tech course has a higher requirement, so for example, they might say you have to have passed this math course, then the GPA might be higher for that individual course. But if there are no what we're calling benchmark requirements for a course, which is really a lot of our tech programs, it's a 2.0 across the board. However, I do understand that some local secondary districts have their own GPA and other requirements. I mean, our policy doesn't override a local secondary policy, but our colleges can't put a higher policy in place over what our system policy is. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure. And there are still a couple of gray areas for us. So there are still some updates that need to come to this, but for right now, the quickest place I can point you to where none of this will change, but there might just be some additions, is our website that I put in the chat that will list the GPA and the corresponding ACT. But we are looking at, for example, there's a push that may be with high school administrators' permission, maybe allow a student to enroll in one technical course, even if they did not meet the 2.0 GPA. That's under advisement right now, and it should be determined in the next couple of weeks. But so if any and all of those additions are made, they will be posted on this website as well. So nothing that's on here will go away, but there might be some additions.
Very good. Thanks.
Yep, my pleasure. All right, then I'd like to see if my colleague Mike Stone from KACTE have any updates that he would like to share. I know he wasn't on the agenda, and I hope I'm not putting him on the spot, but it's always a wonderful opportunity to get some updates from your organization, Mike.
Well, thank you. We are focused primarily on getting ready for the CTE summer program. This morning, I saw we had 1,605 registrants. We had so many. Our in-person registrants are you could say we had so few registrants who wished to attend virtually that we really can't afford to do or it didn't make economic sense to do a virtual. We are going to have a few things that are going to be live streamed, the opening session, and a couple other pieces that are going to be available on the website, archived, so to speak. But the vast majority of the program will be in person. We have then taken some of those funds to increase the Wednesday afternoon reception for all attendees, and in KCTE is going to do some on its own, some beefed up receptions to try to increase membership and awareness. There are more than 200 breakout sessions for all the pathways, and it's looks like a premier learning opportunity. We were also watching and monitoring the development with the next federal budget to ensure that the support for the Perkins Act remains in place. We do have good support from Senator McConnell and Congressman Yarmouth. We're both very much supportive of career and tech programs, and they're in positions in their respective committees to make that work. So we are focusing on that, and then we will be transitioning into our new administrative year come this summer. We appreciate the input over the last 2-3 years working with David Horseman and Pam Moore and now Beth and Tom Back. We've developed a really good partnership, as Leslie mentioned earlier, as we wrote the white paper that helped Representative Rowland and others grasp where we needed to go with CTE. It was a very, very good and sharing partnership, and we want to try to continue to do that in all areas and increase representation and support for career and technical education statewide. Mike Miller is our legislative liaison. Jeff Jones is on our board of directors, and we appreciate them and the insights and the dedication they bring to everything. It's a committed group, and we hope to keep moving. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
You guys do awesome work. Keep it up. Thank you. This was the cross-agency initiatives and updates. So even though there's nothing else on the agenda, before I talk about scheduling for fall 2022 meeting, I just wanted to invite other participants if you had an update that you wanted to share in this session, you know, something that you're working on that you think might be relevant to this group. Hearing none, I will move on to the schedule for the fall 2022 meeting. I know it seems crazy to think about since we just started talking about what we like to do over the summer, and now we're here talking about the fall. But it is important that we try to get that meeting date on the schedule sooner rather than later. Actually, I think they prefer that we have the entire year scheduled, but I think for right now we're focusing on the fall meeting. Given that there's a number of folks who are not here today, I'm wondering if everybody would be amenable to us doing a doodle poll and looking at something either late October, early November, certainly way before Thanksgiving. But that is about, because we're supposed to meet quarterly, right? So if this is, so June, July, yeah, or is it twice a year or 3 times a year? Twice a year, yeah, sorry. So we're looking at, but still looking at doing it probably late October, early November, because once we get into late November, December, you know, everybody's is already wrapping up for the year. So does that timeline sound okay with everybody? And are you good with a doodle poll? I like the thumbs up. I like the thumbs up and the head nods. I can read the head nods too, but only a few of you are on camera. So, David, Leslie, and others, can we proceed in that manner? Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. Ms. Baxter maybe could send one out this afternoon with some dates while it's fresh on everybody's minds, and then that might work the best.
I think that would be great. So let's move forward in with that, and that way we can get it on everybody's calendars. Thank you for agreeing to that, Ms. Baxter. So, okay. Is there a slide for the next, or are we going off slides for wrapping up?
I think there's one more, David.
Yeah. Okay, so this is me again. So I'm going to ask that we take this off slideshow, and since we're doing reflection and adjournment, I would rather encourage people who are comfortable to be on camera to join us on camera if you're not already, but we can see each other and maybe have a couple of minutes discussion. I've been tasked with sort of getting some reflection from today's meeting. And so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. If any of them are compelling for you, I would love your feedback. But I want to start with asking, you know, we've gotten information on a lot of topics, and I think our colleagues have gotten some great feedback from us. But just in general, I would like to ask what resonates from today's meeting with you and why. Like,
Harmony, Mike Miller, I would say that the work on the new funding model going forward is, you know, a vital work that we need to do, and so I'm excited about that and where we're going with high quality CTE.
Great, I appreciate that.
I myself really enjoyed Dr. Hargis's updates, seeing all the things that the kids are doing across the state on their bounce back, coming back in. It's amazing all the things they're creating and doing, and becoming a part of that. Our kids are resilient, and they've came through all this great. So it is really amazing.
Yeah, it is. I attended a high school graduation this weekend, and it was interesting to me. Out of three of the speakers, two of them did not mention the fact that they have actually gone through high school in a pandemic, but one of them did, right? And she made that point a lot. It really is astonishing what our students do just under regular circumstances, but particularly under these. Anyone else want to share what resonates from today's meeting with you?
I'll just follow both of those, and you know, the funding is super exciting. And I think just CTE in general, I think we're in a great place right now. And I think people are seeing what we do as a whole, and that's exciting. I think we help so many kids, and I think mindset is changing too. You know, even conversation with, you know, my own children that are getting closer and closer to graduating, is that, you know, you got to find what makes you happy, and that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you have to follow a 4-year college path. There's lots of other opportunities. So I just think in general, CTE, we're at a good spot right now, and I think it's everybody working together and changing a lot of mindsets. So it's exciting. I think exciting times.
I agree. So I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit and see, does anybody have any thoughts on what we can do to amplify that? I mean, I'm mindful of Senator Hignan's comments earlier in the meeting, and I hope I didn't take them out of context, but you know, you said that there's a lot of folks in Frankfort that don't see this, right? So like, what can we do to amplify the importance of this work and really the impact that it's having on students, not just now, but really setting them up for life? Any ideas around that?
Yeah, this is Steve Johnson, Owensboro Health. I'll offer this. And, you know, Senator Higdon, maybe you heard about this, but, you know, we went before the legislature back in February, I think, to request some funding for a workforce innovation center. And thanks to the General Assembly for assisting us on that. But the one thing that we did is we took 2 team members that actually have lived through COVID. One was a non-traditional learner, one was a traditional learner, and demonstrated to members of the General Assembly, this is what it really looks like. And it was very powerful because members of the House and Senate, had not seen that, they'd only heard it. So I would say the same thing with the kids that are going through or taking advantage of CTE. There's some success stories out there. You know, some of these kids, it's very different now to be able to get in front of the legislators to let them know that, you know, the increase in funding, this is what it's done, and this is really what's helpful. And here's some students that, you know, didn't follow a traditional 4-year higher education path. They followed this, and this is how they're successful doing that. That always helps. It always helps. The stories are there. It's just a matter of bringing them to them. Could be helpful.
And I'll piggyback off that and say, Steve, we're actually working on that as part of our new marketing and branding initiative right now. So I think at the last meeting, I unveiled to you guys the new CTE logo and brand, which is Kentucky CTE Empowered. And we have started to identify both successful alumni as well as some current students that we think can tell their empowered CTE stories. And so as we do that from a state level, I encourage all of you in your grassroots communities to be doing that as well, because those stories really are powerful, as Steve said, and it is what tells the story of impact, more so than anything we can do here in Frankfort.
Exciting. That's great.
Yeah.
So we just discussed having our next meeting in November. Do you think sort of the format of the way we have structured this meeting works, or do you have any suggestions or thoughts if we should make any changes? We've tossed around ideas of maybe providing updates in advance so that we can spend a bit more time on discussion. Are there other items that maybe you are interested in hearing about that you didn't hear? Like I know that we don't have students present here today, but I know that usually we hear from them, and that's always really exciting. But whether you are somebody who can provide input on that right now, or you're somebody who like, oh, I might think of a response tomorrow, then you can email me or Leslie or anybody else at KDE. But we really want, KDE needs to have these meetings, but they need to be valuable for KDE, right? It's not just like check the box, we have the meeting, right? Like it needs, so if we can have an exchange of ideas, we can provide information, if we can do anything to change things up, we'd welcome that feedback from you all. So we'll put that on a to-do list. But lastly, sort of relating to what we've been talking about here today, just in general, but there's some really great and exciting news and some much needed funding coming our way here. But regarding any of the things, whether it's all of it or any one thing in particular, who else do you think needs to hear about or know about these topics that have been shared with you all today? Or what do you do with the information? Like, does it trickle down, or is it we leave this meeting and it's like, okay, KDE reported out, good job, and now back to my inbox? Or
I think, and the new funding is super exciting, and I think there's going to be lots of questions. And I've already, just from the email of looking at TEDs and doing some cleanup and things of that, and talking to Scott and others about what that will look like when the funding comes, is going to be just a huge mindset change. And there's going to be a lot of work that goes into whoever is typically in charge of, let's say, layback funding. Get ready, because here comes the money, and here's the formula of how you need to, because you want it to be equitable. And I think, and coming up with, these are suggested ways of how to distribute that funding when you're sending it out to high schools and programs in schools that may not be in your building. So while it's exciting, I think, the more we can communicate of how that's coming, when it's coming, and what you can do to be prepared, I think is going to be important.
John, this is David, and I was going to bring up this point anyway, is that I think it's really important that we set the stage that this is supplemental funding that is there to, we're wanting this to go directly to the students and their programs, because I know a lot of programs have had no money to, if you have CTE and you don't have anything to put your hands on or to work with, and that's been our intent, or my intent at least, to make sure that that's available. And I think that from our, when we start looking at it, Leslie talked about the quality programs. Well, that's one of those pillars, but then you've got your time that the students are allowed to participate in that. And then you've got to look at where we're going with it. Are we focusing on those sectors that are most important to the economic development of your area? How does that play into it? Are we getting quality credentials when we do it, not just checking a box for accountability? And I think our business partners, we want to make sure that they have a voice in this. And that's why we're going back to the authors on accountability of the bills. And we want this to be a co-created process that includes educators, business, and especially our CTE teachers, and making sure that we're putting a system together that's going to be both equitable and accessible. You know, we have the funding now. We want to make sure we do it right. And I know that our team in here will work with you and your colleagues, because we've got 2 or 3 employers here, but we've also got folks representing associations of employers. So our reach is far and wide here. So I think that's the kind of things that we want to talk about and get from our business partners, is what do we want to incentivize? What do we want to incent our schools to do to improve career and technical education, which on the other side improves our economy and our state and a better place for all our kids to live. So that's kind of been our hope all the way through this process. And this is the time where we need that kind of input from our business and industry partners.
Okay. Any last minute thoughts on any of what you've heard today that resonates with you, future meeting formats, and who else needs to hear about what we've learned about today?
If not, I'd like to have a parting remark. I want to thank everybody that's been a part of this. And I've visited with some of you. I know Steve and I had a long chat about workforce issues in the healthcare area, and all of you I've worked with over the years. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come listen to us. But if there's one thing that I would love to see happen, is I would love to see you taking charge of our meetings, and we talk for 10 minutes and you talk for 45 minutes, because that's what's going to help us grow what we can do here and grow our partnerships. So I want to thank you all for all your cooperation in the years that I've worked with you, and I wish you well in the fall with your next meeting, and step up there and take control of the meeting. They'll be glad to let you do it. I can tell you that.
But David, we sure appreciate your leadership, and I think it goes without saying, but we have to say that you are going to be missed, but you have earned this retirement, and I hope you get to enjoy everything that you want to do with friends and family, and that you don't forget us, and that you call on us if there's anything we can do for you in your next chapter.
Thank you, Harmony.
Thank you. So with that, does somebody want to give me a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, John Sanders.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Mike Miller.
Thank you. I believe we still need to do this by roll call vote so that it is recorded. So Ms. Baxter, please do the roll call and say aye.
Yes, this will require a yes or no vote. Representative Steve Riley, Senator Jimmy Higdon, Mary Pat Reagan, Matthew Whitaker,
Aye.
Jeff Jones,
Aye.
Mike Stone,
Aye.
Darlene Zybart,
Aye.
Jeff Harper,
Aye.
Shelley Goodwin, Steve Johnson, Harmony Little.
Hi.
Stephanie Kingsley, Paul Mullins, Mike Miller,
Aye.
John Sanders.
I believe that you have a quorum journey. There it is. Sorry. I believe you have a quorum for adjourning us, Ms. Baxter. Thank you, everybody, for your participation today. David, thank you and good luck. And I hope you all get to enjoy some of those summer activities, everybody, that we talked about at the beginning of the meeting. See you all in November. Answer that doodle poll.
Bye, guys. Great to see you.